Hi, everyone. You're listening to Backstory. Let's hear it on WTBR-FM Pittsfield with Roberta McCulloch-Dews of the Mayor's Office in the city of Pittsfield. Thanks for tuning in. So today we have with us Harmony Edwards-Persip, a local entrepreneur whose focus is real estate. Harmony's pathway to this place in her life, which is a great place, I might add, a blossoming career, a determined outlook, and lots of possibilities on the horizon. But the journey hasn't been easy, and Harmony will tell you so. And she's quite open about her journey. But the great thing about Harmony's journey is that Harmony didn't stay in the place of her situations. She reset her focus on what she could do each and every day to be the best version of herself. And we always love a comeback story. So welcome, Harmony. Let's get started.
Thank you, Roberta. I'm excited to be here.
So you guys can't see Harmony. Harmony is, what, 5'10"?
Yes.
And she's wearing heels. I'm 5'2" with a few inches to boot. So I'm short. I told Harmony, I said, you occupy a rarefied world. Like, I can only think about that world. I just look up. I said, that wasn't my fate in life, to be tall. And she's thin, too. She's very pretty. All right. So, Harmony, you were born and raised in Pittsfield. And the Persip side of your family has long ties to the city. That name is it goes back generations. How did it feel to really come from a family that really had such strong ties and roots to the city?
So growing up, I guess I didn't actually realize how strong our roots were. And as I got older and began to be more connected and more acquainted with people throughout the county, I realized how much of an impact our family has had here.
For sure. And that's, so I'm definitely into genealogy and things like that. Have you ever done anything for your family? Have you done a family tree and things like that?
No, I have not. My mom keeps pushing me to do it, though. She's like, you need to do this.
Yes.
And just find out more.
So, and your mom is Jamaican.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, do you know anything about your Jamaican side?
I know actually more, I guess, about my Jamaican side.
Okay.
My mom is very motivated on educating me on the Jamaican culture and making sure that was a part of my life growing up.
Yeah, so I'm Jamaican too. So I was born in Jamaica, and my family came to this country when I was 2. And my kids are first generation American. And it's such an interesting thing because I guess growing up as well, there were always things that related to Jamaica in the house, whether they were placemats or wall decor.
Yep, or wall decor.
Things like that. And I realized that for my kids too, even though they are not, they're not Jamaican, but I want them to still have that tie, because I realize with subsequent generations, they get farther and farther away if you're not intentional about preserving that. So again, in my house too, you will find wall decor, the placemats, different things that just, speak to Jamaica, because I always want them to know that part. Have you gone back?
Yeah, we used to go back every year.
And which parish?
So we're all over, I guess.
All right. So I was born in Kingston, so that's the parish of St. Andrew.
Yes. So we have family in St. Andrews.
Okay.
We have family in St. Elizabeth.
Yes. Okay.
And Maypen.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Yes.
I'm not sure what parish that is.
Listen, my great grandmother used to talk about Maypen, which I think is the country. I think Maypen is the country. All right, so I won't ask you more questions because I know how that can be in terms of getting into names and everything like that. But tell me a little bit about your time in Pittsfield as a little girl. What was Harmony like as a little girl growing up in Pittsfield?
So I grew up on the west side of Pittsfield, and I can say I was very much a west side girl. So I had a lot of friends. I had a lot of actually everybody in the neighborhood, I considered them all family. My mom would constantly tell me, like, that's not your cousin. And I'm like, that is my cousin. And everybody in the neighborhood was my cousin, and that's how my family, the Persip side of the family, that's how they are.
Okay.
So they're very, like, inviting, and so I grew up that way.
Okay.
And I have connections with people from the age of, maybe before I can remember, but like 3 and 4 years old. I have pictures going back with people that I'm still connected with today.
So it was like a village environment.
Yes.
Okay.
And I feel like a lot of people that I've met along the road from different places in the United States, they're not connected with their elementary school friends or like their friends from their block.
Yeah, yes. I would have to say it's an interesting dynamic depending on where you grow up. Like if you grow up, like you just referenced the block, and that's like how I would reference it to like growing up in the city, like the kids on the block. But if you grow up if your environment is maybe more rural, or if you are in like, suburbia, it might have a different feel, right? You don't have a block per se.
Yes.
It's just different.
And our blocks are not, so I say a block, and it's not a block that what you're like, when I go to the city, they're like, oh, the block, and they're expecting like this block. No, I'm talking about like John Street. Yeah. So that would be like my entire block, and I wouldn't even be able to go up the street and around the corner, so...
But that's good, though. I think that village mentality of just raising children, it's so important because there was always someone to have an eye out for you.
Yes.
So you were never really on your own because there was always someone watching, an elusive cousin or someone just watching, making sure that you were on the right track.
Yeah, and you grew up thinking every older woman on the street was your aunt, and every older man was your uncle.
Listen,
and
now
if they yelled at you, you're going to stop and listen to what they're saying.
Now, I wonder if that's a Jamaican thing, though, because I remember growing up, too, and they were like, oh, this is Aunt so-and-so, or this is Uncle so-and-so. And it took me a while before I was like, wait a second, they're not.
They're not my aunt. Yeah.
But I
no relation.
It was like a sign of respect. It was a sign of, like, one, you didn't really call adults, like, by their first name. I mean, I don't know. Did you?
So I guess I can say that definitely came from my Persip side of the family.
Okay.
Because my mom was the one that was always correcting me and saying like, no, that's not your aunt and those are not your cousins.
That's so interesting. That is so interesting because, you know what? The group that I was a part of, it was a tight group. And so we kind of knew, but it wasn't just like random people that were just like aunts and uncles. But I could understand that, though.
And then what city did you grow up in?
I was in the Bronx.
Okay.
And so, but like for me, like, so there were like members of like our church that we grew up in. And so at that, when you were little, you really didn't call the adults by their first name. So it was like, oh, this is Aunt so-and-so, this is Uncle so-and-so. And that was just, I guess it was like a term of endearment, but it wasn't like they had any relation to us in any way. Yes. No, but it was confusing when you're a kid. All right. So when you think back to little Harmony, what were her dreams and aspirations?
So I can say I wanted to be a lawyer.
Okay.
So I knew I was always going to be in like a negotiating situation. Okay. And I can, as long as I can remember, and I see this in my 4-year-old now, always negotiating and bargaining deals and I knew I was going to be in sales.
Okay.
I'd play with a doll for maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then tag sale outside with like 5 or 6 dolls. It wouldn't be like a big collection of like a big tag sale, but I'd have a stand and I'd resell everything.
Now, where did you get the idea to like do all these things?
I don't know.
It's just something
that I always was doing.
Really?
And I always was creating something. I created magazines and like drew magazines and I would try to sell them to people and nobody would want to buy them. And I'd be like, they're 5 cents. Like, why don't you want to buy this 5 cents, like beautiful magazine that I made? Yes. And then some people in the neighborhood would just buy the things just to support satisfy my soul. Yes.
Oh, so you were a young entrepreneur even back then.
Yes.
Wow. All right. Oh my goodness. I love that so much because I feel like when we're children, we have this unfettered creative spirit and energy that the world hasn't said, no, don't do that. You can't do that. You're not built for that. When you're a kid, the sky really, there's no limit to like what you want to do.
Yes.
Like you could do anything. Like you want to be a fashion designer, you want to be a firefighter, you want to police, everything all in one.
Yep.
But it's interesting to me that the roots of your current profession harken back to this time. Like you actually could create a bridge to say you were selling your own homemade magazines, you were, negotiating the resale of dolls. I mean, it's fascinating to me. Did you have any and I know you mentioned that this was something that was just innate to you, but was there anyone that you saw that had this sort of same sort of entrepreneurial energy in your family?
So firsthand experience, I didn't see it necessarily, but my dad was a car salesman.
Okay.
So naturally speaking, I didn't actually watch him growing up, but I think that when you go back to genetics,
yes,
that it just was there.
Yes.
I didn't need to see it or be inspired,
Yes.
physically by it,
Yes.
but it mentally and inside of me, it was always there.
Right. So it just needed to be released.
And then I can say my mom never was the parent that was like, that's not going to happen or that's not attainable. It was always like, what's your plan to do that?
Okay.
How are you going to make it work?
Very pragmatic.
Yes.
Got
that
it.
my mind was always like, okay, I can do it. It's just a matter of fact of how can I do it?
Okay. All right. So you already had that mindset. All right. So that's young Harmony. So let's go into the teen years. I tell you, listen, I'm a mom of 3. Whew. Whew. I know. Do you see all this gray? So I'm a mom of 3. My oldest is in college. He is a freshman. My middle is a freshman in high school. And then the baby is in middle school. Yeah, she's in middle school, but she thinks she's in college.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. That's your only girl?
Only girl.
Yes.
And, I would say that it has been so interesting. There is no manual for parenting. I mean, yes, there is physically one, but it's only until you get in it, because no children aren't alike in the way that they have their dreams, their aspirations, the way that they go about things. They are different, and as a parent, you have to acknowledge their difference. As a teen, tell me about teen Harmony.
I don't even know if I can tell you about Teen Harmony, because I don't think Teen Harmony knew what or who she was. So the little girl Harmony started to get clouded by everything that was going around socially.
Yeah.
And I guess the education system too, in a way.
Yeah.
Kind of like dampens your spirits. So, and then I grew up in Pittsfield.
Okay.
So I grew up in Pittsfield. I started off at Conti Elementary School on the west side, in a west side community. My mom transitioned me to private school, a Catholic school in middle school. So that kind of changed my confidence level. So it was one of the only black kids in the entire school.
Yeah.
Which I guess that wasn't really the effect that it had on me, but a lot of the kids were better off financially, financially better situations than we were.
Yeah.
Not that we were in a bad situation, but it felt like a bad situation when your friends are in these great situations.
Right. Right.
And so I started to kind of doubt myself and my abilities to create, my abilities to I'm not artistic at all, so that's why my magazines never took off.
That was a reason why.
Yeah. So I started to look into these things instead of looking at my strengths. I was so focused on what I felt like was a weakness at the time, and it kind of just clouded my spirits. I started to conform to what I thought I should be like, and not really who I wanted to be. So. Yeah,
it's the teen years are so tough. And, I always like to say, I'm so glad we didn't have social media when I was coming up. I mean, the most we had were beepers. And there's no recollection of anything on a beeper transaction.
No screenshots.
No screenshots. And so I was able to, you're able to make your mistakes and you're able to live the life that you want to live. Tell me a little bit about just being in that space where you have doubted yourself, and what do you recall about that time in your life, and how did it make you feel emotionally?
So I think I was definitely depressed. Like now I look back on it, and I guess everybody can kind of go through like depression and then you come out of it. But I was in maybe a depression for like 5 to 6 years, maybe 8 years, and it was all throughout high school.
Wow.
So high school and then kind of proceeding a couple of years after high school, my grades started to decline. So then I started to doubt myself more at that point. You're looking at college, but your grades are declining because of whatever outside factors are going on. And I felt like I had no control over what was happening in my life.
So you felt like you were in a spiral?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, looking back at when you were in high school, you were a track star.
Yep.
I mean, that's the thing. And you got scholarships. Like you were awarded, like you were a part of the graduating class of 2012?
Yes.
So you were still a smart cookie. You're still a smart cookie. You're still doing your things on the, with athletics, but you're also battling these demons.
Yes. And you could see it, like I said, in my schoolwork. So I'm a great tester, so I test very well.
Yeah.
I don't know where that comes from. That's probably from my mom's side. But I've always been a really good tester, so and I knew that about myself too.
Right.
So I didn't really put much effort into like studying or homework or any of the other things, because I knew like at the final I'm going to test fine and I'm going to go on to the next grade. So why do I need to do any of these in-betweens?
Right.
But then you lose the discipline. And growing up, I was very disciplined by my mother, and you kind of lose grasp of your children in the teen years because they want to do their own thing and they want to be their own person.
Right.
And I was fighting back so hard against who I thought my mother wanted me to be and who I thought everybody was expecting me to be. And I'm like, well, who do I want to be? So then I started looking for who do I want to be, realizing, maybe at 22 or 23 that I already was who I wanted to be. And then I lost that.
Wow.
Chasing something that I didn't even know. Chasing the unknown, literally chasing the unknown.
Wow. So in order to come from that depression and come from that place, you had to do a lot of self-work to get to who you are today. All right. So I just want to let the listeners know who are just tuning in. My guest for today is Harmony Edwards-Persip. She is a licensed realtor and a local entrepreneur. And we're just talking about her journey of evolution and success and where she is today. So tell me a little bit about that get into that place where you said, I'm okay and I'm happy with who I am. What was that work like for you?
So I had to first realize I moved to Florida.
Okay.
That was a big eye opener for me. And what I realized when I moved to Florida is that there are plenty of successful Black women that are doing different things, from levels of maybe they're doing hair to the levels of they're lawyers and judges. And I just woke up one day and I'm like, what am I doing? Because I could be one of these people. Like, I have what it takes. I know I have what it takes to be this.
Yes.
And I've always had these creative ideas. How am I going to get financially, savvy in life? That's always been a goal. Even when I was going through the depression state, it was just, how am I going to get to that?
Yeah.
And I knew I was good at sales. So I just kind of regrouped my mind and kind of applied myself to getting certified in different departments, exploring different career fields. I went from being a behavioral specialist to doing CNA work to selling life insurance to working for Kate Spade as a saleswoman.
Listen, you're part Jamaican, okay?
Yes.
So
I had a man say that to me the other day. He's like, if you're not doing 6 things, what are you doing?
Listen. A true Jamaican.
Yes.
Yes.
So I explored all of these different ranges of career ideas, and I loved every single one. And when I got to real estate, that's what really like stuck with me.
Okay.
And I'm like, I can do everything I want to do within this career.
Okay.
And actually at 18, in that time of depression, I did sign up for a real estate class. So I think that it was all, I knew it was just about getting out of that that warped mind and then like releasing myself into who I'm supposed to be.
How has your relationship with your mom come from that evolution? I mean, obviously, I'm telling you, as a parent, I know how it is to go through those spots, and then when you come out of it, your relationship takes on a different tone. Did you find that your relationship with your mom took on a different tone as well after you got to the place where you are today?
I can say I immediately started to see changes. When I was living in Florida, we became more connected because we were further apart. So the phone calls, it was like maybe like a phone call a day. Sorry, Mom. And then I realized that she really was my supporter.
Right. Like,
regardless of what I was going to do in life, and even when I was doing everything wrong in life, she was always my supporter.
That's right.
So that was just like a wake-up call, and you've seen I've spoken about her like 5 times. So I really I noticed the impact that she had on my life. So it's helping me to be a good mother now.
That is like salve
to
to a parent's ear to hear that, because it just reassures a parent that everything that they've been doing was worthy, right? And it validates everything, everything. I'm sure she's loving all of it now, and your relationship is good. So I'm so glad to hear that. Tell me a little bit. You mentioned being a mom, and you having now being on the flip side of that. Have you developed any insights now that you're on your own parent journey?
Yes, I have. And one thing that I know that, which is not something that my mom necessarily did or didn't do, but I guess I didn't feel like I had clarity on that ever in life, was the amount of privileges that I was exposed to because of my mother and who she was.
How so?
So she's, I don't know what degrees that she has, but she's been just very, very
educated. Degreed, yes.
And so her outlook on life altogether was different than a lot of the individuals or peers that I had, their parents. So I always had that step above because of the way my mom talked to me and handled even any situation, any person that she was dealing with. The way she handled those situations really helped to create, who I was, and then also provide me with opportunity. Okay. So she had these connections that she's made throughout her career that immediately when I was in high school, I think I was in 10th grade, I got a receptionist position, like $3 or $4 above minimum wage, something that none of my friends, even people that were in college already, were not looking at this position. And I can say that my mom's connections, I would have never even known, first of all, that it was available.
Right.
Her connections helped me get in. And then she also helped me, prepare for the interviewing process of it. She's also always had a good job. So just when I was in private school, I might not have felt like we were financially, fit and financially good. Right. But I was always comfortable in life. So I never needed for anything. Yeah. Even if I thought I was needing it, that was a want. So
of course.
I never actually needed for anything. And I grew up and now that I'm a mother, I'm like, I had more than the essential things that I need.
Right.
Maybe more than I think that she should have done.
But it's so interesting when you're looking at it through the lens of others, right? And what they have, it sometimes overshadows what we have, on our own.
Yes.
And the fact that you can now look back and say, I had everything, but it's almost like the grass always looks greener on the other side. There was, apart from your mom, who obviously is a pivotal force, and of course you've given your own thoughts about being a mom yourself now, you are a symbol to your daughter of a powerful woman. the idea of representation came to me because you mentioned when you went to Florida that you saw all of these women, Black women, who were doing it in their various professions. I want to, if you could, backtrack a little bit to just the representation that you saw or did not see here.
I don't feel like I've seen any representation here. And so my point of saying that I was privileged in the sense of who my mother was, that was my representation.
Just your mom.
So, and there are other women, Black women in the community that did have, powerful impacts on me, but not necessarily in the light of what, they might be community activists.
Right.
And also that's like their second job because they have to do, this in the daytime in order to provide this for our community. And I wanted to be able to give back to my community in my daytime job.
Right. So powerful. I always talk about representation. Just simply representation matters, and it matters in so many ways. And oftentimes, if you don't see it, you don't think you can be it. And so for young children and others, it's so important. And I would say it's important for everyone to be able to see that people who occupy leadership positions and different things there is more than one look. Right?
Yes.
There's more than one look to that. And that's representative of the global society and world that we all live in. So I think that you, being the successful woman you are serving as that symbol to your daughter. But there could be also other little girls looking at you that you don't even know about.
And that's like what my drive is. So obviously, of course, my daughter is like a reason why I do a lot of what I do. But the second reason why, and the reason why doing it here in the Berkshires is so important to me, is that there's all of these other little girls growing up, and even adult women that are older than I am at this time, that were like, I didn't even think that this was a possibility. And I'm like, listen, you can do this.
Yeah.
You just have to literally do it. Like, you just got to start doing it.
Yeah.
And nobody's going to look back at where you were starting from, as long as you get started.
You just have to get started. Absolutely. And it helps when you see that image of someone who's doing it, because like you said, they're going to say, well, if she's doing it, so can I. So that is powerful. You are a licensed realtor. Tell me about what is the most thrilling aspect of your job, being a licensed realtor.
The most thrilling aspect?
Yeah.
Meeting new people.
Okay.
Like all the time.
So you're an extrovert?
Yes.
Okay.
And I've always been an extrovert. I think in high school I was kind of retrieving a little bit and becoming more introverted. But yeah, it's meeting people.
Yeah.
And you don't have to buy a house with me.
Okay.
I just love meeting new people. So if you want to buy a house and you want to talk about buying a house, like, I'm free to do that. And I think that I bring in a lot of clients that way too. But I also meet new people.
Okay.
It's not just about real estate. So there's so many more aspects to real estate. We're inside of a real estate right now. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's just what it is. So you meet all of these different people along the way.
Okay.
And you just get to do different cool things. And I think that's like the most exciting part for me.
So I'm going to ask you, what's a day in the life for Harmony? What's a typical day look like?
Typical day.
Yeah.
Usually I start in sweatpants.
Okay. All right.
And I do most of my day that way. Okay. So I run errands. I do a lot of my documents, phone calls. I'm a morning person.
Okay.
But I'm not a morning person and put my heels right on.
Okay.
So I love that my career right now gives me the ability to kind of like have the freedom to get ready in the morning and kind of get my days started mentally before I'm like out and active in front of people.
Right.
So, I guess a day in the life, it always varies. Okay. Every day is a different day. I guess I love that too. And
you set your day because you have the ability to set your...
That's why I'm like, what is the day in the life like? Because every day is like completely different than the day before.
That's definitely like a level of freedom that a lot of people don't have.
And it's exciting. I mean, some people like, I want to know exactly what my schedule is going to be like. And I guess I could set my life up that way where I'm doing showings from this time to this time and it's only that time. But I guess I'm more free-spirited. So I like having the freedom of kind of just being flexible.
Okay. For those listeners just tuning in, my guest today is Harmony Edwards-Persip. She is a licensed realtor and a local entrepreneur, telling us about just her journey, her professional pursuits, and all that comes with it. So, Harmony, at the start of 2020, you assumed ownership of Uncorked Wine and Beer Lounge, which was situated in downtown Pittsfield on North Street. And the lounge was slated to open in March. But as we all know, that was the start of the pandemic. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, that was a rough experience. And I was working with other investors as well. So... COVID.
That's what we all do. We take a big sigh.
Yes, so we did have some difficulties getting a approval for the wine and beer license to serve. So that was the holdup, or we would have been open, prior to COVID happening, which might have set us back even more. So I always say that hold up of not having the license actually saved us from ordering inventory and ordering furnishing and kind of like driving full in because we were in an unknown space of are we going to get this license? And then we did get the approval from the board right, I think, days before the shutdown. It was maybe even the 17th, and then the shutdown was the 18th.
How did you feel in that moment? Wow.
I was devastated and I was angry and I didn't understand. Like, I guess the entire world was angry, but for completely different reasons than I was. And then I even remember going online and connecting with other business owners because, there's however many bars in the United States, how many of them were opening at this same time? We're going through renovations and just poured in this money from investors to renovate, and then they're not able to open. So I started connecting with different bar owners and, smaller restaurant owners, and just kind of almost like therapy sessions with each other and just like talking it out and talking it through. And I held on for that dream until almost November or December of 2020.
How are you able to do that in terms of just, was it a big weight? Like, I mean, I know that there were so many financially impacted. Like, was that hard for you to do?
It was hard. It was hard dealing with the investors. Thankfully, like, the landlord there was relatively easy on me and understanding of, what was going on at that time. It taught me a lot.
What takeaways?
The takeaways was patience.
Okay.
And because when you're dealing with other, you have partners in the deal, and you're dealing with these partners, and everybody's upset at the same time. Everybody's kind of like feeling almost as if they've taken a bigger loss than the other. So each of us were in a point of who's taking the biggest loss now, and it really dampened relationships at the time.
Okay.
So moving forward, I figured out ways to kind of deal with and communicate with people in a sense that all of us can walk away with a win. And if we're not, at least we're all walking away satisfied and not, there's no negative energy left behind on the table.
Yeah. I was looking forward to your business opening. I remember. Yeah. But that being said, I mean, we saw COVID's hand just really devastate so many things. I mean, aside from the lives lost, which is devastating on its own, just the impact to people and their livelihoods, it really took a toll. You have all these key takeaways. Are you gun shy about starting another business similar, or are you still committed to something like this?
So I am necessarily not committed to a wine and beer lounge.
All right.
In downtown Pittsfield.
Okay.
And that I won't even go into that because we might be going over time. But of why I wouldn't do that. I am not shy about going after other businesses and other business endeavors. So I have been pushing forward on deals and working different lines of exploring how we can do, possibly like a wine and beer lounge, not necessarily downtown, and incorporate it into other features as well. Okay.
All right. And that, I was thinking about just in terms of the business aspect, apart from, say, this kind of lounge or eatery, any other business ventures that you have your eye on as we're thinking about 2022?
Yes, I am working on a huge deal right now. Okay. So we're actually going live to bring on investors next week.
Wow.
And so at the business sneak peek is a hotel resort.
Oh.
Yes.
That's major.
Yes.
Wow.
And it would be here in the Berkshires.
Oh.
Cannabis friendly.
Okay.
So we're in the stages. Yeah, that's a little sneak peek. I won't give too much information yet.
Sometimes you have to just give a little drop taste. A hint, a taste, and then that's it. I'm a firm believer in sometimes, especially as you are working through things, everyone doesn't have to know. I mean, some things you want to share, but you don't have to put it all out there, because sometimes you want to preserve the integrity of your vision and your work, and you want to keep it nurtured in a space where the energy around it is good and that you're able to do what you need to do. And then when you are ready to release it, then you make your announcement.
Yes.
And at that point, it won't be subject to anyone's negativity or anything like that. You just say, and this is what we're doing.
And it's happening.
Very nice. Very good. Beyond your professional work, which it seems like there's just a lot going on. I mean, as you're talking about deals, and I'm like, she's like a deal maker. I'm like, what is going on right now? She's on the phone, probably has like 2 phones to her ears. The image of just a woman handling her business, and that is just so great to see and so necessary. But aside from the work that you're doing, do you have any other areas that you're interested in terms of just community life or things like that?
Yeah, so I actually work with multiple organizations within the community, and I have been working, hard on putting together some networking events throughout the Berkshires, for different business owners to help them expand, kind of help them network, help them get out on social media, and also exploring, obviously from real estate, home ownership, credit repair, and, helping others get their businesses off the ground.
Okay. And in terms of like just the community, so I think when I think about community, I also know that there's another Persip who's doing big things. Your brother.
Yes.
So for those who may not know, Harmony's brother, Earl Persip, he is a city councilor. So he is, that's, again, I mean, talk about, he has a day job, but this work, he was elected to serve the community and that service. Are you inspired in any way by your brother's community service work?
I was inspired immediately. I was like, I want to be on city council before I even, necessarily knew what the depths of city council was. but there's representation because not only is he's my brother, but I'm like, a black man is on city council in Pittsfield. How does that happen? You get voted in, right?
Yes.
So you make those connections, you build within your community, and you make it happen. And I think, what really inspires me about it is that he actually speaks up when it's important.
Yes.
So, and I feel like a lot of the time in politics today, especially local politics, that people kind of conform to each other's ideas, and instead of putting their hand on the table and objecting and saying, I don't agree, he's able to do that. So,
yes, yes, your Councilor Persip is he's very astute, and he one of the things I admire about him is that he is able, like you said, when he speaks, you listen, because he is saying something that's profound and specifically attuned to the situation and matter. And he does it in a way that gets his point across without, just in a powerful way, without necessarily downing anyone else, but he's very clear on what his point is. So you're absolutely right. I mean, again, we're going back to the aspect of representation. And that representation is so powerful. I mean, like you said, the city council, is that something that, growing up, did you think even could happen?
No. I mean, it's not that I didn't think it could happen. I didn't think it could happen here.
Really? Huh.
And I also think that growing up, I saw us more as a town than a city.
Okay.
And I saw us as culturally behind. Even though a lot of people come here for the cultural experience,
right.
Just our local government and our school system, I felt like the development of it was culturally behind.
So then let me ask you, especially you mentioned some things with just like some of the systems. Do you have ideas to, based on some of your insights going through the system, do you have, and now that you're here as a professional woman, you've chosen to come back to Pittsfield, what are some of the ideas that you would like to see implemented to maybe shift the consciousness of the next generation?
Ooh. So that was a deep one, I feel like.
Yeah.
I could go on, and I guess my ideas are not structured enough for me to say, this is what I think needs to happen. And that's maybe why I've never ran for city council or the school board. I do think that our education system and the way that I think our teachers are great in the school system. I feel like a lot of the way that they handle behavioral problems needs to be readjusted and reevaluated.
Okay.
I believe that there's a lot of stress and pressure on both students and staff.
Yeah.
And the staff don't realize the pressure that the students have from society to be a certain way. And it's almost like in bigger cities, because we are a city.
Yeah.
In bigger cities, it's more of an urban education, and we don't have that here.
Okay. Yeah, you're right about the distinction between city and town, because people use it interchangeably. We are a small city. We are a population of 44,000, but people say, "Oh, town." And I'm like, no, it's actually a city.
Yeah, I'm like,
but you're right about just your perspectives on that understanding, because changing systems, I think, always start at the level of understanding what needs to be addressed. And I think we're at a place where there is an awareness, especially when it comes to the whole behavioral issue standpoint. The concept of restorative justice is playing a bigger role in the way that policy is dealt out, whereas before maybe it didn't. I don't even know how prevalent that concept was. But restorative justice is playing a bigger role. And I think there's probably more attention that needs to be put on restorative justice, because I always say that sometimes the behavior is symptomatic of something else. It's not, no child is bad. When people say things like, oh, that's a bad child. No, there's no child that's bad, right? Circumstances affect children in ways that they act out and carry out certain behaviors. And circumstances are fluid. So if circumstances affect a child in a negative way, then if you alter the circumstances, it can affect them in a positive way. So if we think about the holistic way of learning, that can change a lot of things. But there needs to be the thought on restorative justice and also how we address implicit bias.
Yes.
Right? Implicit bias is another one, like how we see our children and so there's so many layers to our systems, but I feel encouraged that we're at a place where those conversations are happening. And that's the biggest difference from, like, I want to say, in years before, because no one was talking about things like that. It was very different time. So we won't see Harmony running for an elected position. So like no school committee, no city councilor, but we can rest assured that you are behind the scenes.
Yes.
Okay.
And actively involved
Okay.
throughout the community.
When you're not doing all of that stuff, what do you like to do in your downtime?
My downtime, I like to travel.
Okay.
And I guess everybody will say, like, travel, that's what they want to do in their downtime, or what they like to do in their downtime.
Okay.
But I'm not saying travel, get on a plane and necessarily fly somewheres. I like to do mini road trips. My daughter and I do that a lot.
Okay, where do you like to go?
So we do local things a lot.
Okay.
Bash Bish Falls, Wacona Falls.
Okay.
There is a few places in Great Barrington that I don't know by name that we'll go out to. We'll kind of hike, go for walks, hang out downtown. We go all over to Albany a lot, to different museums, Springfield.
Yep.
And then out to Boston, New York City.
Okay.
Bigger places.
Yes.
But that's like my number one thing. So if I'm not working, if I don't have a booked schedule, I will be out of town or out of Pittsfield maybe, or in Pittsfield, but like out doing something.
And
different.
your daughter is she's your partner in action.
Sidekick.
She's your sidekick.
Yes.
Which is great because she's getting exposure to all these different activities and places, which again it expands her worldview.
Yes. Every place we go, she wants to move, and she shops houses.
Wait a second. Wait 1 second. Has she said she wants to be just like mommy?
So she doesn't say she wants to be just like mommy. She wants to be a rock star.
Oh.
In sandals and she will have a nice house and she will sell houses. So I'm pretty sure she's saying she wants to be me, but she didn't use those words.
You're like, all right, I'll take it.
Yeah, I'm like, that's me.
Yeah, like, that's me. That's me without the sandals.
Yeah, no, I have sandals on today.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So tell me a little bit about who or what inspires you to keep going.
A lot of different people along the way have inspired me.
Okay.
And I think that mostly I'm inspired by experiences more than having like a role model or, a significant person that's inspiring me. I believe that I get most of my inspiration from myself, I would say, as wanting to be a role model for others.
Tell me, if you can, recall one of the experiences that have stayed with you that have really inspired you to keep going, because you mentioned experiences just now.
Yes. I can remember going back. I was in high school, or maybe just heading out of high school. I did. nope. So it was the year after high school. Sorry, 2013.
Okay.
So I went on America's Next Top Model and did not make it. I actually made it to the top 25 and then was cut before the show.
Wow.
So that was exciting and then depressing, I guess. It's like up and down roller coaster. And I went out to New York City, and my mother and I went to casting calls and kind of had no luck that day.
Okay.
And on my way back, we met an individual, Nole Marin, I believe their name was.
Okay.
Not too important. But he had been a judge on the America's Next Top Model.
Wait a second. I kind of remember, because I used to watch.
Yeah, so I can like picture his face, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm saying his name.
No, I can
correctly.
picture his face too. But yeah.
Me and my mom, as teenagers are, we get into an argument.
Yeah.
I like stormed out of the train station, trying to walk around New York City by myself. And this guy comes up to me and he's like, you need to be a model. You need to come down to my office for a casting. So we ended up staying in New York and not going home on the train that day and going and doing a casting with him. And I remember him talking to me. And at this point, I'd already gotten into like some trouble. And he's like, look at the life that you're like the road that you're going down and like look at the opportunities that are walking up to you. He's like, so you have to kind of make a choice, like, where do you want to be? And that was what really inspired me. Even though I didn't make a change at that time, that resonated with me for a while. Because I was like, he knew.
How did he know?
Well, he knew because I'm pretty sure he ran my record.
Okay. All right.
When I was signing the contract. Yeah.
Okay.
And so, but it was just like his point. Like he didn't know who I was.
Yeah.
You know, you don't know what somebody's been through or what's gone on in their life.
Right.
And he's like, you can continue down this road that you're going down, or you can change now.
Yeah.
And no, we can't sign you on because you have this record.
Right.
But like, if you get these things cleaned up, you can come back when you're ready.
So that was your crossroads.
And then it still wasn't like a trigger for me at that time. So it wasn't like I was like, I need to change.
No.
Today's the day.
Yeah.
Still went through maybe 3 years of nonstop craziness, drama.
Right.
And then, and at some point I just woke up and I was like, this guy was right. I'm going like down the completely wrong path, and I have this fork in the road, and I have this option that I don't have to keep going down this path. I just need to take the next turn off.
Yes.
So that was when I kind of, just got focused on getting certified in whatever my heart's desire was at that time.
Harmony.
And it was behavioral stuff because I was going through like behavioral issues myself.
I love your story so much because it's the story of redemption. And, the thing is that some of us, it's great if we have like neatly packaged stories and we can wrap it up with a bow. And some of us have experiences like that. And I don't take away from anyone's experience like that. But it's oftentimes the bumps and the bruises, the all-out gashes and wounds that we have that actually serve to teach us. They become our biggest teacher. And what I'm getting from you is that there was the awakening that happened not because of other people, because people are talking to you. You had this judge who was talking to you, but you decided in your mind, you said, I want that change. And that's the biggest, when I'm sure if you have opportunities to talk to other young people, that's the biggest thing. It's that you have the power. You have the power inside of you to decide who do you want to be? What kind of life do you want to live? You don't have to wait for anybody to tell you because you have it already in you. And don't let your past experiences define who you are, because they don't.
Nope, not at all.
Yeah,
not at all. And when I said just get up and start, that's all that it took. It was me getting up and just starting something different. starting something that was productive and positive that was going to, help me in life.
And I mean, and from that awakening, I mean, now here she is, she's like a deal maker, she has all these great plans, she's doing it, and it serves as a model of what can happen when you believe in yourself and when you decide what kind of life you want. That's why I like your story, Harmony.
Yes, and my motto always, so I have a Facebook group, Manifestation and Accountability.
Okay.
And that's like my motto, because I tell people you can manifest anything. And it's like, it's really true that you can create whatever's going on in your day.
Yes.
And you kind of, even in your moment, you create your mood, you create your personality, your dynamic, the energy that you're releasing. It's all created within you. It's like the decision that you make with yourself.
So true. You're right about that. If you say, I'm going to have a great day today, you're going to exude that. Now, if you say, I'm going to have a bad day and everything sucks in life and I just hate it, well, then you've already started from a place where you're negative and you're going to see the negativity. You're almost going to attract it like a magnet, because you are negative and you're going to attract other sources of negativity right to you. And so positive affirmations and things like that doesn't mean that you're not going to have a bad day. It doesn't mean that you're not going to encounter difficulty, but when you think about how you interpret what comes your way, if you have that positive frame of reference, then there's a difference. So I totally believe in, you have to, that I do vision boards. I start every year with a vision board. That's why this is like so significant to me. And every year I cut out and I put the words and the things that I want to see for myself for the year to come. And I have those vision boards in my bedroom. Like, I have them like in a prominent way. So every day when I wake up, I see them, and it's a visual reminder of what I want to be and everything that comes with it, because words matter. The things that you put in your mind matters, and the things that you tell yourself matter. You're the first one. No one can control that. So you get that. Harmony, if you could choose one word to describe you, what would it be?
I'll use manifestation.
Okay.
That's it.
Manifestation.
Manifester.
Manifester.
That's my description.
All right. I think it's fitting. And I want to thank you so much for sharing your story with our listeners. I think that there are little girls out there and little boys too. I think they need to see it as well, because representation matters. So just thank you again. It's been a pleasure. All right, everyone, you've been listening to Backstory. Let's hear it on WTBR-FM Pittsfield with Roberta McCulloch-Dews of the mayor's office in the city of Pittsfield. Thanks for listening, everyone, and have a great day.